Hi, I'm Mark House, and I'm here in Houston, Texas to interview Troy Taylor. Troy is one of our largest and newest John Deere dealers. Troy actually owns Coke Florida, which is one of the larger Coke bottler distributors in North America. He serves over 18 million customers in Florida, including customers like Disney and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, an American football team. We're delighted to have Troy as a part of the John Deere team. And now I'm going to go inside and understand his journey from investment banker to owner-operator of a Coke franchise to now becoming a John Deere dealer. First, thank you so much for agreeing to do this interview. I know you're a pretty private person and extraordinarily successful, very private, and so we appreciate you doing this video with us, and we're so happy, in fact delighted to have you part of the John Deere team, part of the John Deere family. But tell us about who you are.
Mark, thank you for having me. It is an honor and a privilege for me to be a part of the John Deere family and the John Deere team. You know, it's not something that any and everybody gets to do, so it's an honor for me to be in this position and to be in the family. So I want to say that first and foremost. But of course, my name is Troy Taylor, born and raised in Lafayette, Louisiana, an area of the country we like to call God's country. Went to school in West Virginia, college in West Virginia after I left Louisiana. Went to Marshall University, where I was a basketball player, got a degree in finance and business law. After leaving there, graduating in 1992, moved down to Houston, where I joined what is now JP Morgan Chase. Went into the investment banking program there and grew up in investment banking. And one of the things that I learned along the way is we started a group that was called Franchise and Trademark Finance and Franchise Systems, where we focused on businesses like a Deere dealership, like a Coke bottler, that are attached to these large brands that are part of the channel that gets to the end customer and consumer. So that's where I started to develop my understanding of these type of businesses, and where I started to develop my love to get on that side of the table to be an entrepreneur and a business owner.
So you've been very successful with your work with Coke, but why John Deere and why Texas?
Or you know the reason, because we live in Texas and we like Texas. Texas is, you know, our home state. But from a John Deere standpoint, as we looked at brands, you know, brands that we love, that we feel good about, and that are very successful brands, it doesn't get any more successful than John Deere. The Coke brand is 130 some odd years old, but I think John Deere is 180 some odd years old.
183, but who's counting?
But who's counting? Let's be exact though. But John Deere represents the type of brand that me and my family wanted to be associated with. Long-standing brand, top-tier brand, known for its precision, known for its quality, known for its customer service, and known for its longevity. As you know, we sought out Deere. We identified it as a brand that we wanted to be associated with, a great American brand that turned into a great international brand. And that's something that we said, hey, if we have the chance to be in that system, that's where we want to be. And we wanted to be in Texas because, number one, again, it's our home state, but number two, we think there's a great opportunity as Texas continues to grow from a large ag standpoint. As you look at what's happening in the metro areas, or the hill country where people are growing and living and buying property, we just see it as a great market opportunity as well. But what do I expect from Deere? I think the promise that Deere has to keep is to continue to build great equipment. First and foremost, it starts with the quality of the equipment that is built and all the things that go around it, you know, from technology to attachments to aftermarket parts, the service that gets wrapped around it. All those things have to be based in quality. And I see that in, you know, those similarities, whether it's Deere, whether it's Coke. It's the quality of the product. There's no substitute for that. You guys know this. There's no substitute for the quality of the product. So it starts there. It kind of starts and ends there. And then all the stuff that goes around that. Do you have great marketing? Do you have great advertising? Are you connecting with the customers through that marketing and advertising? And are you connecting to the customers through the dealership channel? Are you building great relationships with the dealership channel where it's built upon honesty and truthfulness and understanding, okay, having the dealership channel help Deere understand what is the customer asking, what do they want, and using that dealership channel as a way to gauge what's happening on the ground. There's no way for Deere to know everything sitting in Moline or sitting in Olathe. They have to rely upon the dealership channel to understand the customers in all these markets and what they want.
When you think about the leadership of the company, our chairman and CEO, John May, he took over as chairman and CEO in May of 2020, just a few months back. You know John, you've had the opportunity to meet John, so tell us a little bit about sort of that and that relationship.
I immediately took to John because he's a genuine guy, very thoughtful guy, very engaging guy, and I saw immediately that guy had leadership qualities. He wouldn't have been on the trip if he didn't, but you could see that he had those strong leadership qualities. Didn't know he would be chairman and CEO. Glad I got to know him before he became chairman and CEO. But I think, obviously, like the board thinks, like Wall Street thinks, like everyone thinks, he's the right guy for this opportunity. If you look at his background in ag and turf, if you look at his background and his understanding of technology and how he's focused now on precision ag and integrated solutions as the future for the Deere business, as the future for ag and turf and even construction, I think he's absolutely the right guy.
It's hard to talk about John May without talking about the smart industrial strategy, and that's the vision that he has laid out, and he's been really talking about that around the production systems, the technology stack, and the aftermarket or life cycle solutions. And the other piece of that is something that we've been working on for several years around the dealer of tomorrow.
Sure.
And you're familiar with both of those. Give us your sense of that and how that went into the calculation about you making the decision to buy into a John Deere.
The first thing, as you guys laid out your dealer of tomorrow strategy, where you say, hey, we want larger dealers who can become more sophisticated, be better capitalized, be totally aligned with the Deere strategy and grow with that strategy. I said, that's what it looks like, because that was the same thing that we saw in the Coke system, where they wanted bottlers to be larger, more regional, be more sophisticated, have more sophisticated capital, be strategically more sophisticated. And I heard and I saw the same things in the dealer of tomorrow strategy. So that was very important for us. From a technology standpoint, when I look at what Deere is leading from a technology with their equipment and in the aftermarket, I think that's very important, because that's the future. We know that technology is part of the future across pretty much every business and every enterprise. But when you get into agriculture, particularly large ag, where farmers are concerned about their yield, being more productive, having more insights, having greater technology to do their jobs better. And I think Deere is leading there, and that's very important, because that's going to allow the brands to get more share, to be stickier, if you will, with their customers and with their partners. The AOR, the area of responsibility, encompasses Central and South Texas. So San Antonio through, near the Austin area, down through the valley. So it's a very unique area, because you pick up large ag, mid tractor, and small tractor. So you have, a combination of all of that. You get into South Texas, you're looking at, that's cotton country. There's a lot of cotton farming there. There's a lot of large ag that goes into that, and we have, pretty good share there, that we intend on increasing. And then you have some of the, small tractor opportunities as you get into urban areas like the San Antonios of the world.
Talk a little bit about your leadership philosophy. I mean, you run a pretty large organization. You've just purchased another pretty large organization, and I know that's just two of the businesses that you have. Sure. But talk about your philosophy on leadership.
My philosophy on leadership, I think, is pretty simple. It's all about people. You have to have really good people that you hire, that you mentor, that you give opportunities to grow, and that you turn over the keys to run their functions and run their businesses. When you have great brands like Deere, you should be able to attract good people to it. And the key is to make sure you attract the right people, put them in the right places, don't necessarily micromanage them, but lead, teach, and coach, and help them along the way. And if you do that, I think more often than not, you're going to be successful. My leadership philosophy is always, if you're going to be a general, you better have some great troops with you, and you better make sure that they're properly trained, properly incentivized, and that the people that do that do really well, that you continue to move up the ranks so they can become leaders as well. Customers are people, and people tend to want the same things. They want you to be honest with them. They want you to treat them with respect. They want you to tell them the truth, engage with them and build a relationship. And when you do those things, more often than not, you will win. We have great brands. There's not a better brand when you start talking about equipment, particularly on the ag and turf side, than Deere. It's not a better brand. So you have a great head start when you walk into a room and go and talk to a customer or anyone and say, I represent John Deere. I mean, you're almost there, because no one's going to question the brand, the quality, the service that the dealership should be delivering. No one's going to question that ability. But then it's about engagement. How do you engage with people to bring the promise of that brand to life? And then when you become engaged in the community, when people see you engage, whether it's Little League, whether it's picnics, whatever it is, rodeos, you name it, livestock shows, whatever it is that you can get involved in the communities that you operate in, I think that makes it special as well, because that becomes special not only for the customers in the communities that you operate in, but it becomes very special for your employees.
So I want to change gears just a
Sure.
little bit. We're living in an interesting time right now in the world, and particularly in America. You know, COVID-19 and all the things associated with that. I mean, this is kind of why we're a bit separated, and then there's a whole lot of talk around social justice. And give me your views. Two points. One, your view as a black man in America around this, and then two, what do you see as business's role in fostering or creating a more just, equitable society?
Sure. I have seen racism up close. So I know what it looks like. I know what it feels like. I know what it smells like. I know all those things. I know what it, and it's very uncomfortable. I think that we are beyond time, past time, of creating a more equality from a social standpoint in America, particularly as it relates to black people. And if you kind of gauge the progress that we've made in America, I don't think any fair-minded person, whether you're black, white, male, female, Hispanic, it doesn't matter, any fair-minded individual would say that we've made enough progress. We will know we've made enough progress when we don't have the need to talk about this anymore. The fact that we have to talk about it and see it and try to figure out ways to correct it means that we haven't made enough progress. I also believe this is not only about social, this is about economics. If you look at what's happened to black Americans over the past 10, 15, 20 years, our purchasing power has decreased. Our home ownership has decreased. Our net worth is 1/10 of what white Americans. So when you're into that type of stuff, you cannot make progress, because one's social status is heavily driven by one's economic status. You could aspire to be wherever you want to be socially, but if you can't pay the bill, you're not going to be there. So I think corporate America has a real responsibility in this as well, from a hiring, inclusion, from a pay equity standpoint, from a supplier diversity standpoint. And I don't mean buying, staples and things like that from small black companies. I mean that corporations such as Deere, such as Coke, need to do more with the Troy Taylors of the world. Like dealerships, like bottlers, like franchises, like saying, hey, we're going to help put black people in business and make sure that we have strong relationships with them so they can create economic gain, so they can invest in their own communities. So corporate America has a unique opportunity to pull the economic and financial levers that they have to help with this social journey that we're on.
Troy, I just want to say again, I really appreciate it. On behalf of John, the entire Deere leadership team, and all of our employees around the world, we're glad you took the time to be with us today. And we're glad that you're part of the team. And we look forward to spending more time with you in years to come.
So thank you for your support, and thank you to the entire Deere team for their support in getting to this point.